Hey, this is Tundra Talks, and I'd like to tell you guys about a game called Dragon's Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma is a Western-style RPG from Capcom. It came out in 2012, and it really shot under the radar, mostly overlooked because of its bad graphics, and because another game with dragons came out just a few months earlier. In Dragon's Dogma, everything from an RPG is there. You have your quests, monsters, classes, and customization. Holy shit. In Dragon's Dogma, you play as the part of the Arisen. The Arisen is somebody whose heart has been taken by the dragon and has to win it back by defeating him. In order to do that, though, you have to prove yourself, and by proving yourself, I mean you have to do a lot of boring-ass quests.
After you create your character, you set off into the world with these things called pawns.
Pawns are created by other players of Dragon's Dogma all around the world. You can hire them with these things called rift crystals. You either get them from killing monsters or by completing quests. Create pawns just like you would your character. You select their class, the way they look, I should see a doctor, and other players can hire them online too. Pawns are an essential part of Dragon's Dogma, as they serve as support for your main character. Your main pawn can be hired by other players of the game. It can learn about quests, different monsters, and even bring you back a gift.
Problem is, pawns are goddamn stupid. Pawns have the memory of a goldfish. They love to state the obvious, and they also have the memory of a goldfish, and they love to state the obvious.
There are rocks in the river. If only we could get to them.
Why the hell do we need rocks?
Wolves hunt in packs.
Thanks.
Cyclops!
Yeah, I have eyes, and I wasn't using them to check out your ass. Hey, get out of the fountain. What the put those back.
I'll heal your wounds. There are rocks in the river.
We don't need fucking rocks.
Even though an inbred hamster has more sense than a pawn, they're absolutely essential for fighting the monsters in the game. And before I forget, the monsters are awesome.
This game has some of the greatest monsters I've seen in a while, and they each have their own unique strengths and weaknesses. The game gives you a ton of freedom in how you want to kill them.
Is that a griffin flying away?
Light its wings on fire.
Cyclops covering its eye with a helmet?
Trick it to take it off.
Is that an ogre in your way?
Just make it feel worthless.
All of these monsters you could fight by climbing on their back like in Shadow of the Colossus. And these creatures are all over the world. And the world is, well, huge.
It's both a good thing and a bad thing. The world is so big that it really makes you think before you go outside of town, as there's only 2 places that you can actually stock up on supplies.
The large map makes you really want to plan out your journeys before you head out of town. Mostly because when it gets dark, it gets dark.
By making night as dark as it is, it really adds new excitement to the world. Monster ambushes are more likely, and it can be hard to tell where you're headed without a lantern. But here's one of my main problems with Dragon's Dogma. The world is too big. It can take over 30 minutes to walk to the next quest destination. And after the first time you head to an area, all the surprises on the way are already spoiled. The best example of this is the Griffin quest and another where you have to track down a wizard named Solomon. Both are in the Blue Moon Tower, and both quests reach their climax at the top. The tower's on the other side of the fucking map. And unless you put what's called a port crystal right outside the Blue Moon Tower, you're gonna have to walk through the same valley, fight the same harpies, fight the same goblins, and be ambushed by the same bandits all over again.
If you do those quests in a certain order where they are going to be back to back, that could be over an hour and a half of walking, and that's if you don't die. Don't get me wrong, I love my giant maps and RPGs, but in Dragon's Dogma, there's just nothing to do in between. Once you know where a monster ambush is, it's always going to be there. Same thing with the chest spawn. What is there to do in Dragon's Dogma? Well, quests. That's if they don't bug out on you, and they're kind of boring.
One quest is just telling a family to leave their house. After chasing them around town, you talk to the father again, and then they leave. But that's if he spawns. I had to restart the game to get him to appear. Also, if you want to get better weapons, you have to give a vendor an idol. It can either be cursed, bronze, or gold. To get gold in the best weapons, you have to escort a 6-year-old around town. Yeah, you heard me. Just what you always wanted in a game. Whiny bitch won't let you get 3 feet away from her, and if you do, you screw up the quest. I mean, is this really supposed to be fun? Who thought of this?
Even the main quest is weird.
You do quest for the Duke, a past arisen that supposedly killed the dragon before. During these quests, you either help expose a cult called Salvation, or help clear out a goblin infestation. These quests all lead up to the final showdown with the dragon.
The story has a lot of problems. It's never really clear, and it just brings up more questions. I've played it 3 times, and I still don't know what the fuck is going on.
One of the first tests you get from the Duke is to translate an ancient tablet. You eventually meet this weirdo on a rock.
Who knows that I know what he seeks to know? Knows it well.
And this ass in a cave called the Dragon Forge. He serves absolutely no purpose except for padding. Oh my god, what are you made out of? Anyway. A later quest, you bust a Salvation meeting in the catacombs. And that's when it hits you.
The Arisen's an idiot.
I mean, look at this. People are getting attacked by zombies, and even though you just fought through hundreds of them to get here, he just looks around scared. Here's another weird one. The Duke's wife wants you to meet her in her room at night, because who the hell knows? I doubt it's to do the deed, because, I mean, just, look at him. Anyway, before you find out, the Duke comes in and just starts to choke her out. And how does he react? Like he does not want to be involved. If you decide to break it up, you just get thrown in prison and tortured.
How does he escape this predicament?
He just walks out.
I don't know what you expected. And how does this affect his relationship with the Duke? It doesn't. Whatever, let's get this over with.
After completing all the mundane quests, you hear that Salvation has taken over a northern fortress, and you have to go stop them. After fighting your way through the fortress and making it to the top, you finally meet the leader of Salvation. And then he gets crushed by the dragon. Who gives a shit?
The dragon is easily the best part of the game.
Run and hide.
He offers you a choice. Fight him or accept his deal, and you'll have power just like the Duke. What's that 6-year-old kid doing here? Anyway, the dragon is awesome. He chases you, you try and shoot him down, you climb on his back and flight, and finally an epic battle face to face. After the dragon dies, he gives you some exposition, the Duke turns old, Rubberman gets dusty, and a giant hole eats the slums of Grand Soren. And then you walk out with the 6-year-old, and the credits roll. Hold on, what? Oh my god, what the hell? She's 6! Sweet Jesus!
What the fuck, Capcom? Somebody had to know that this was gonna happen. They had to test it. Who the fuck did this?
Hey, Steve, I noticed that, if you do a certain amount of quests in a certain way, you hook up with a 6-year-old girl?
Yeah? Well, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? I don't know what the fuck I might.
What am I gonna do about it? I don't even work here. These are blank! Oh, okay, now the game tells me how the hell this shit works. After he banged the kid. Yeah, so apparently whoever you do quests for means that the Arisen loves them or some shit. Why didn't I get the Duke's wife? Or that Aldous guy? He seemed nice. Never mind. After the credits roll and you get over the shock of what the fuck just happened, you see that the world is darker and filled with ash. Monsters are on the road, and when you see the Duke, he's old. You beat the shit out of him. You run away. You fall into a giant hole, and this is where the end of the game is, the Everfall. While falling through the Everfall, eventually you grab onto a ledge where a pawn meets you and gives you a quest. The quest is to collect 20 wake stones. It's not really explained why, but nothing else in this game is, so whatever. The Everfall is really weird. It has a tedious quest, but the monsters there are really cool. I mean, beholders don't show up in the wild, and there's only 2 other golems, but one of the golems in here actually gives you a different way of fighting them. It's really a shame because it shows how much potential the game had. It just makes the rest of the experience feel rushed. After you finally collect all the crystals, you fall into the Everfall, you fight God, you kill him, become God, realize that it's boring as shit, kill yourself, and then you wake up with your pawn's voice on a beach.
Master!
And that's it.
The problem with Dragon's Dogma as a whole is that the best part of the game is the dragon fight in the Everfall. Imagine you were going to get a sandwich with the best peanut butter in the entire world. You're only get a tiny bit, but you don't care. It's the best peanut butter in the world. As they're making the sandwich for you, they put on about a pound of fluff. At first, you start to eat it, and the fluff's not terrible, but it's not as good as the peanut butter. After a while, you start to get sick from the fluff, and you just wish that you could have the peanut butter. And by the time you get to the peanut butter, it's just not as good anymore because of all that fluff you just had to get through. And that's what Dragon's Dogma is.
Dragon's Dogma is a great game. It has its faults, but as long as you don't take it seriously and just play it for what it is, you can have a hilarious experience.
Capcom just recently released Dark Arisen, an expansion pack to Dragon's Dogma. It adds a couple quest lines, few new monsters, and makes fast travel a little bit easier. But for $40, it's not really worth it. Well, thanks for watching, guys. This is Tundra Talks, and I'm done talking.
Thank you.